Hi everyone! Maraming salamat sa pagtangkilik sa aming programang Surprise Guest with Pia Arcangel, and thank you for downloading, streaming, and catching our episodes here. It's a new day, which means it's a new episode and a new surprise. I have absolutely no idea kung sino ang ating surprise guest for this day, but I have to admit I'm a little nervous because I heard that our guest is based somewhere else. Wala po siya dito sa Maynila. I wonder who our surprise guest for today is. Let's not delay things any further. I'll say hello to our surprise guest. Hi, surprise guest. How are you today?
Hi.
Oh my gosh, Kiefer, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, nice to see you. Good to see you, Kiefer. You're looking so good.
Thank you. Likewise, Ate Pia. It's been so long since we last saw each other. Pero,
Oo nga. Parang
yes.
last time nakita kita was on the court. Hold on. Nasa Japan ka ba ngayon?
Yes, I'm in Japan right now.
Okay. Kiefer, kinabahan ako ha. But it's good to see you. How are you? Naka-break ka ba now?
We just actually finished practice with my team, the Shiga Lake. I just got here 3 days ago and it's nice to be back. And it's nice to be back playing basketball once again for my team.
How long were you away? How long were you on break?
Yeah, I was on break. Technically, I wasn't. But the season ended last May. And from there on, I was with the national team, played for the SEA Games, the third FIBA window, the FIBA Asia Cup, and the fourth FIBA window. So I was just playing basketball all throughout the off-season.
So tuloy-tuloy lang because basketball really is life. Ano? What was it like growing up in a house full of athletes? Because both your parents also were extraordinary athletes. Not just, regular athletes. Talagang magaling, di ba? So, bata pa lang ba kayo? Parang it was already ingrained in you that you will be an athlete? Or it's just something you wanted to try on your own and ended up loving as well?
Well, growing up, like for me, it was really, love at first sight with basketball. It was basketball from the beginning. And then growing up, I'd say it was very hostile environment. When it comes to the household, we compete. Whoever wants to watch TV for the remote, whoever wakes up the earliest, things like that, So when it comes to competition, it's just natural for us. Even though somebody loses, he or she, my sister, my brother, or me would find some other way to get back at that person, whether, trying to, get one over him. So that's just how it is.
Akala ko like fighting for the remote shootout agad.
No, whoever gets to the TV first, that's how it is.
Yun na yun. Okay.
It only stops when my mom asks for it because she wants to watch her Korean novelas. So
because syempre si Tita Mozi is the queen of the house, di ba?
That's the only time it stops.
So when you say you've been competing your whole lives, di ba meron kayong ring sa likod sa bahay nyo? Nakita ko yung post eh. So kung wari sa bahay, parang after merienda, sabi niyo, let's shoot some hoops. Competition na agad yun.
It can be as small as that. Even on video games, competition, in our backyard, sometimes we would end up not finishing our games because we would end up fighting, things like that.
Kung wari, makakatapat niyo si 30, hindi ba mahirap na magkalaban rin kayo?
Actually, it's not that hard because, once we step on the court, we know our boundaries. It's just, 40 minutes of just being very, very competitive. And especially for us brothers, we've been competing, our whole lives. It's very innate for us to bring that out when we play each other. So it's nice to play against him because it's competition. We all know one another. We don't want that somebody to have that bragging rights over you. So you try to win and be competitive.
Sino ba usually ang lumalamang sa inyong dalawa?
For a while, it was me. But in recent time, it's 30. That's why I stopped playing when I was on top. So when I was winning, I decided not to play him anymore, knowing that I have a chance to lose already. As a manong, I knew my limits. I had to stop while I was on top.
Okay, you would say this in front of 30 naman. You wouldn't mind saying this in front of him.
Oh, no. I wouldn't mind.
Okay lang. Okay. Sige. How about, you said pati sa video games. Let's say video games. Who usually wins sa inyong dalawa?
Depends on what we play. But, it gets highly competitive. A lot of trash talking, a lot of noise. It can go any other way when it comes to video games. But it's always fun. That's just the nature of how we were brought up in the household. Very competitive.
Well, yes. 30... Oo. Ay, 30 tuloy. Naku, eto nalilito na ako. Kanina you mentioned with 30, very competitive ka. But of course, your sister si Dani, who's also an athlete, is much younger. How would you describe being a kuya to her naman? Parang mas gentle ka ba? Kasi syempre, younger sister. Tapos you're not as tough as on her as you are on 30.
I don't know. I think I'm not. I guess I'm just cautious of the words that I use. But in terms of being tough, I treat them the same because, we're athletes, and like I'm a firm believer of, what 30 gets, you should also get, because you're only gonna get, straight things from me. I won't sugarcoat anything. I won't tell you what you only need to hear. But I'll be very picky. I'm not just gonna out of nowhere, out of context, just say random things to you, because I know how that works. And for me, as a leader, different people, different ways of communicating. So I know my way of communicating with 30, and I also know my way of communicating with Danny. So that's just how I was able to work my way with them in terms of delivering a message, especially when it comes to how they play or their games, and how they are when it comes to their attitude, things like that.
Sinong mas mahirap kausapin sa kanilang dalawa?
30 definitely. See 30 definitely. The problem with 30 is because he's a very good athlete, and he's a very good basketball player as well. Sometimes just you can't blame him because he can really do a lot of good things, and just having that guy to remind you every now and then, sometimes gets hard-headed, gets a little bit stubborn, but there's nobody else who would be patient enough to tell him those things besides me, my mom, and my dad. So
At least ikaw yung isa dun sa mga tao na talagang papakinggan niya, 'di ba?
oh yeah. And then with 30 again, as I've said, he's a very good basketball player. It's very professional. He gets things done. He's very hardworking. So he doesn't really hear a lot from me, as much as he hears from my parents, obviously. But when it's time for me to step in, that's the only time. And he listens. I'll give it to him. He listens every time I talk.
Syempre, 'di ba? Parang when you play the same sport, so parang you're in the same career, you exchange notes. Minsan ba siya rin magbibigay sa iyo ng parang I don't know, not advice but parang his thoughts, his opinion.
Yeah. Especially here in Japan, he's been here longer than I've been, and he knows the players more than I do. So if he knows that we're gonna play a certain team and they just played them recently, he's gonna tell me, he's gonna call me, oh, this player is gonna do this player is like this, like that, and vice versa. And that's what I do to him as well.
Ang sweet naman ni 30. So Kiefer, how long have you been playing basketball? I mean, if you count your your high school and college years.
Everything, probably like 24 years.
Wow, that's a long time. Magsi-silver anniversary na.
Yeah, I started playing when I was 4. That was my first
Okay.
ever basketball camp. If I would count that, I started playing when I was 4. But when it comes to like real basketball, like my first varsity game back when I was 8 years old. So that was 20 years ago. So it's been a while when it comes to basketball. Basketball has been awesome, nothing but awesome for me.
And you've played in different leagues, different schools even. Diba, of course, you studied in Lasalle, but you played for Ateneo, right? Tell us first about the transition from Lasalle to Ateneo. Syempre kasi diba pag kunwari, Atenista ka, mapunta ka ng Lasalle, people will be like looking at you as an outsider. Pag Lasallista ka, pumunta kang Ateneo, ganun din. So parang, what helped you make that decision?
I think it was just an opportunity for me to be able to study with a scholarship. I think during that time, I was the first one to have scholarship in grade school. My parents, thinking logically, that's an opportunity. Like, you're going to save a lot of money. You'll be able to study in a very prestigious school. I think the hardest part for me was, as a young kid, obviously your friends, you're leaving a lot of friends, a lot of relationships. But at the end of the day, those friends of mine when I was in Lasalle are still one of my closest buddies. They're still very close to me. We still go around and talk every now and then, play basketball, pick up games. So looking back, it was a very hard decision, but I guess it all worked out in the end.
Do you still remember your first big game?
First big game. I think my first big game was in Pampanga when I was 8 years old, I think.
Grabe, 8 years old pa lang, no?
It was the national championship for the Milo SBP tournament. And I think I scored like 8 points. And I think that was my career high during that time. And I was so, proud because, not a lot of year old kid can do such feat. So, and we won the championship too. So I think that was my biggest game in
Wow.
terms of really propelling my career with basketball.
How about nung nag-college ka na? What for you was the biggest game when you were in college for Ateneo?
For me, I think it was my first ever game because, I consider biggest game, it's not about scoring. It's not about the championship. I think biggest, it had the biggest impact in my career because coming off of high school, as one of the highly touted high school players during my time and then playing for Ateneo, I had a very, very special summer with Ateneo. I won an MVP on my freshman year. We won the championship for a summer league. The expectations kept growing and growing when the lights were turned on, when the game was the most important, when it counted. I had 0 points. I barely played, and everybody thought that I was going nowhere. So everybody counted me out as a freshman. And I guess that was my biggest game in terms of learning about myself and learning on how can I adapt and adjust and contribute to my team.
Ang galing, no? Usually, most players, when you ask them what their biggest game is, parang yun siguro yung pinakamalaki yung score nila or nag-triple-double sila. Yung mga gano'n, di ba? But for you, it was when you scored 0 points.
Like until now, like I can never forget that game. It's something that actually that stuck with me. And every time I would have a bad game, I would just remember that game. And, all I can tell myself, like it can never get worse than your first game. So I just pick myself up and go on to the next one.
Sorry, sino yung kalaban nyo nun?
Adamson. First
Okay.
ever UAAP game. And I remember I was 0-for-1. I played 14 minutes. It was in Araneta. There was a full house because Adamson was also one of the favorites during that year. Yeah, I played against good guards. Lester Alvarez, Jerry Cañada, Alex Noyles, Camson, those guys. So it was a very tough game for me.
Ang sakit rin siguro, no? Di ba? Ang bigat ng feeling. When you got to the dugout, were you afraid na parang papagalitan ka ni coach? Ganyan?
No, because we won.
Okay.
I guess that's what mattered for me. But
Okay.
at the back of my mind, obviously, very disappointed in terms of my individual performance. I felt like this wasn't my role in the team. I can't be like this. So, changes were made, and I was able to be comfortable, and I was able to adjust.
Alam mo, Kiefer, they say, di ba, na parang it's different pag naglalaro ka for your college team, tapos iba na pag nasa professional league ka na. Totoo ba yon?
Oh, yes, definitely. Because, it's just a matter of why and what you're playing for. When it comes to college, obviously you're playing for pride, glory, bragging rights from your friends. But when it comes to the pros, it's a whole different world. It's food on the table, as they would all say, that you're playing for. And at the end of the day, you have to go around with older people, your vets. You have to know how to get along with them, because at the end of the day, you're a team. You have to have one another to be able to, get a lot of victories, a lot of wins, a lot of bonuses, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is.
And now, syempre, di ba, you've also had that experience of playing on the national team. Somehow, parang do you get that same sense of playing, syempre, for pride, you're playing for your country, di ba? Parang nanunumbalik ba yun kahit papano?
Oh, yes. There's nothing like it, playing for your country. I think that's the top goal as a basketball player. Just a select few who can say in their careers that they were able to play for flag and country. So being able to be there is always a feat for me.
And recently sa Gilas, you played with Jordan Clarkson, who plays in the NBA. What was that experience like?
That was a great experience, as a young player and as a fan as well. Obviously, JC is a great talent that we're all proud of, representing the country when it comes to the NBA. I've got nothing but awesome words for that guy. One of the most professional guys that I've ever seen in my life. Comes into practice early, never misses a viewing session, a film session, always on time, and just gives it his best when he plays. So that's the level that you want to be in, and it takes a lot of hard work. And it's not just JC, but also Kai. He was able to make time for the national team. Hopefully he makes it as a first really full born Filipino in the NBA. But full or half, JC or Kai, we're very proud of them. They're both Filipinos in my books. So whatever they say, they're carrying the flag wherever they play. And just being around those guys, I was able to learn a lot and apply it to my career as well.
Until when ba do you plan to play for Gilas?
It depends, whenever I get called up, even though there's a lot of people who don't want me to be there, but that's just
Grabe naman yun.
that's just how it is. Filipinos are very passionate when it comes to basketball. They have their own opinions to it. And as players, whenever we're called to the national team, it's our privilege. It's not even our obligation to play for the national team. It's a privilege to get called up to play. If you want to play there, you'll play there 110%, mind, body, and soul for the national team.
And okay then that you were able to do this while the B-League was
On a break.
off-season. So that's great na parang somehow it all worked out.
Yeah.
But wait, Kiefer, how's it playing for Shiga Lakes? How's life in Japan?
May problema ka ba sa career, love life, sex life, or do you just need someone to talk to? Kahit gaano pa yan, it's complicated. Pag-usapan natin yan sa Share Ko Lang podcast. I'm Dr. Anna Tuazon, isang psychologist. Samahan niyo ako as we hear stories from personalities about issues that we all can relate to. May mapupulot ka pang tips para sa stronger and better version of you. Listen to Share Ko Lang podcast, an original by GMA News and Public Affairs. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
Hi, I'm Howie Severino. My colleagues and I developed this idea of creating a podcast as a safe space for sharing insights with leaders and interesting people across diverse backgrounds. I've been a journalist for 33 years as a newspaper reporter, news anchor, online editor, and documentary maker. But podcasting is fresh territory for me. Check out the Howie Severino podcast, an original for GMA News and Public Affairs. New episodes will stream every Thursday. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. Empower yourselves and be safe.
Kiefer, how's it playing for Shiga Lakes? How's life in Japan?
It's been great. It's been treating me very well. Right now, I'm enjoying the warm weather because in a few months, winter's gonna come once again and it's going to be really cold. And hopefully, as borders start to open up, I get to bring my family here. As we all know, 30 is also here, so they get to visit us both. We're excited for that. And, the season is in 2-3 weeks from now. So last minute preparations for the team. And then we're ready to go.
Okay, and so how's training been? I mean, is your training very rigorous ba? Ano ba yung daily routine mo dyan sa Japan?
Daily routine. Well, our training is not really that hard. I'm just very fortunate because I signed with the same team, with the same coach, with the same system and philosophy. So in terms of adjusting, it's not so hard for me anymore. But, in terms of our roster, we made a lot of improvement, a lot of changes. And at the same time, the other players that were retained, the experience that we all gained from last season will definitely bring it for this coming season sa B-League. So we're very much excited to begin the season with our team, and we obviously have a new name with the Shiga Lakes. So we're excited for a new beginning.
Saan ka ba sa Japan ngayon, Kiefer?
My prefecture is Shiga. It's in central Japan. I'm close to Kyoto and Osaka, neighbors pretty much. I'm beside the biggest lake in Japan. That's why we're called the Shiga Lakes. It's been a great adventure for me last year, and I'm sure it's going to be the same thing again this year.
I'm trying to imagine what it must be like for you kasi syempre all your life, you've known Philippine basketball. Parang Philippine basketball by heart na, diba? And you're an integral part actually of Philippine basketball until now playing for the national team. But how big of an adjustment was it when you started playing in Japan?
I think it was a bigger adjustment for me, transferring to a different style of basketball, different brand, and obviously a different role. Here, as an import, they expect a lot from you. And at the same time, you're also playing with 3 other imports. So as a point guard, you have to know how to balance everything out. And I think that's one thing that's why Shiga brought me here with my experience. And at the same time, I can help when it comes to leadership and just making the team close. And it was because we all know it's a long season and we need everybody to be able to contribute and help the team win.
When you say it's a different style or a different brand of basketball, paano ba siya naiba sa basketball dito sa atin?
Talent-wise, I think Philippines, with our players there, we're very talented, we're very skillful. And in terms of the system, the Japanese really makes it up for what they lack or what we have an advantage when it comes to talent. So that's how they make it up for, the way they play, the pace, the system. So that's how, I try to compare it with our brand of basketball.
Okay. So, mahirap bang maging import? Kasi nga, sabi mo, ikaw na yung import ngayon.
Actually, it's harder to become an OFW than an import. I don't see it as an import. Basketball has given so much opportunities for me. So I'm still blessed to play basketball, but I feel for the other OFWs what they always go through in their daily lives, being away from family. I think that's the harder part.
Was it the first time na nahiwalay ka sa pamilya mo for a very long time?
No. It wasn't the first time. I also
Okay.
tried to play after college. I tried to go to the States and pursue a dream of mine, and that didn't pan out. And obviously, I learned a lot, but I was still away from family for a year. And it was also hard, especially during that time. I was a lot younger. You wanted to do a lot of things, but that's what my that was my path before. And there's no regrets for me. And obviously, I think it helped me benefit for my future, which is now. I did that 6-7 years ago. Light experience of being away from family.
Okay. Ang tagal na pala nun, 6 or 7 years ago.
Yes. Right after
Okay.
college. Getting
Oo.
old.
Wag na natin pag-usapan edad, ha? But, Kiefer, I have a question. Kasi, you mentioned when you went to the States, di ba? And I remember that na parang you were trying things out there. Pero kasi pag sinabi mong punta kang States, parang mas may sort of familiarity because, you know the language and parang the culture, maraming Pinoy sa Amerika. But like here in Japan, wala bang naging problema sa, let's say, the language barrier? Hindi ka ba nahirapan trying to adjust?
Yes, there was a slight barrier. But at the end of the day, Miss Pia, we're the ones who are adjusting and trying to immerse in their culture. So you just have to adjust and, be patient. And, good thing we're playing basketball, because in basketball, there's a universal language. Elsewhere you play in the world, some terms are the same. So it's easier for us to communicate. It's easier for us to talk. And when it comes to playing together, there's not much problem. It's just, trying to communicate, daily communication. But, so far so good. I have a lot of teammates who can understand and talk English very well.
But do you also have more Japanese words in your vocabulary now?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Talaga? So kaya mo na mag-converse in Japanese?
Not that deep. For me, I can order the food that I want.
Ay, wow. Importante yun.
Yes. I can go to places that I won't get confused, or whether I'm confused, I can ask for directions. Yeah, more of the necessities.
Okay. How did you pick up all these important phrases? Is it because inaral mo siya or parang sa exposure na lang sa daily life?
Yeah. Just from the exposure from my teammates, just being around them, asking questions. We're a very diverse team. We have a Croatian import, we have an American import. We have a Spanish coach. I'm Filipino. So our cultures are very much diverse, and we learn from one another, and that's how we adapt. And hopefully we can use it in the games where it's most important.
Okay, so that's nice. So minsan pwede kayong mag-shift from English to Japanese or Nihongo. Oo.
Yes.
So ano bang in-order mo?
The usual. I like my ramen, katsudon,
nako.
all of
Shucks.
Sushi.
Parang gusto ko tuloy kumain ng Japanese food after nito.
Oh, yeah. The usuals, it's just so hard to actually pick. That's the problem here. It's so hard because everything's good.
Oo nga eh. Pero at least healthy yung food, di ba?
Yes, definitely.
After practice, you get to go visit the sites. Ano yung madalas ginagawa mo pag tapos na practice or pag walang game?
Last year, I think that was my exploring year, just being my first year here in Japan, playing professionally. But now I think, I've adjusted. I've seen the sites that should be seen. I think with our schedule as well, it's really hard to just go around because, we play a lot of games, our practices, we travel a lot. So I think as an athlete, you have to really prioritize resting. I think that's one thing I've learned last year, and hopefully I can, apply it again this year.
The place where you're staying, malapit lang yan sa pinagtitrainingan ninyo?
Yes, here in our prefecture, here in Shiga, everything's close by, very convenient.
Ibig ba sabihin yan, Kiefer, ikaw gumagawa ng lahat ng chores mo dyan sa bahay? I mean, ikaw
Oh.
maglilinis, magluluto.
Yes, Miss Pia. It's me. It's all me. Laundry, cleaning, fixing the bed, everything, luto, cooking food. If I'm not that tired, I'll be able to cook. But sometimes after practice, you just want to sleep, take out.
Kaya pala, yun yung una mong natutunan, no? Yung pag-order ng pagkain. So if you have time, kaya mo talaga magluto ng isang buong meal for yourself?
Yeah. If I have time, day off, sometimes I would do groceries, or just cook a meal. I'll ask my mom or people in the house how to cook this, how to cook that.
Ano yung mga kaya mong lutuin na parang ipagmamalaki mo sa ibang tao?
Adobo.
Wow! Talagang classic Pinoy food. Kasi syempre, yun yung namimiss mo siguro, no?
Yes. Every now and then, parang I feel like it's important to have a taste of home pa din.
So, nung umuwi ka ba the last time, na pagluto mo ba mami mo? I'm sure she'd be very proud kung matikman niya, masarap pala yung adobo na niluluto mo.
No. I was just waiting for the food.
Parang bakasyon na rin kasi. Was it an adjustment for you having to do all these chores on your own?
Oh, yeah. It was an adjustment. But at the same time, found it fun and a good way to kill time instead of just laying down, watching movies. It's always going to be there. It was a great experience for me growing up, and just, at the same time, I'm still trying to learn a lot of things about myself and what I really want for my future, and having this sense of independence, it's very good for me.
So kung baga, pag busy ka sa mga chores mo, bawas pagka-homesick.
Yes. And sometimes, when I do my chores, my mom's on FaceTime. I'll just be talking to her, my sister. Sometimes 30, even though, he's also here. Just to have that, white noise in the house, because I live alone, just to hear familiar voices, stories, and everything.
Kumbaga may family time pa rin kayo.
Yes. Thank God for good technology.
Well, sabi mo nga, diba, si 30 is also there. Nagkikita ba kayo ni 30 dyan?
Yeah. We get to see each other here once in a while. Obviously, when we play against each other. But when it comes to off days, sometimes when he wants to visit, he's a 2 hour and a half drive from my place. Relatively, it's not that far when it comes to Japan. But, just resting at home is still important, is still the priority. Driving is sometimes, it takes a toll, especially if it's that long and you have to go back and forth. So yeah, but at the same time, we both know our priorities here, which is to play well for our club teams.
Oo nga, medyo malayo rin pala, no? 2 to 3 hours away. Wait, kaya mo na mag-drive sa Japan?
Yes, we both drive here in Japan.
Wow!
A little adjustment from the other side.
Oo.
My first year, last year, it was really hard. I think I was driving 20 kilometers an hour for my first week. I was really safe and really taking my time, because, it was a whole different world, just turning right to the opposite lane, even just crossing the street, looking right instead of looking left first. Those little things that, are big adjustments.
Oo nga, nakakapanibago, I'm sure. Kasi, diba? And even the road signs. Paano yung road signs? Hindi lahat ata may English translation.
Yes. So we just stay in our lane. Hopefully not to hit anyone. That is what we do. We see a red sign, we stop.
Sa bagay, red is the universal stop. Pero kung wari yung street signs, paano mo alam na, eto na pala yung kalsadang pupuntahan ko?
Yeah, we use Google Maps, talk in English.
Okay. Tapos basta kumbaga if Google Maps says turn right on the second corner, bibilangin mo na lang.
Yeah, that's it. And like sometimes, it's not really so often that we go around to unfamiliar places, because here in Japan, public transportation is very convenient. So it's either we ride a train, go to places, walk, things like that. But when we use our cars, it's just going to the mall, going to practice, going back home. So we don't really have to use directions in terms of getting our way around. But, Google Maps helps us, when we need 911.
Wait, when you first got to Japan, did you ever find yourself lost in Japan? Kasi
yes.
syempre, di ba? Knew everything.
Sure. Yeah. The first practice that I went to on my own, I got lost right away. So I was just trying to use my photographic memory when I got picked up from my place, and our assistant coach picked me up going to practice, and then going back home. He also brought me back to my place. And then the following day, I was just trying to remember a lake and buildings. And then it didn't work. It didn't work for me. I got lost.
Okay, wait, you were driving.
I was driving.
Okay, medyo mahirap yun, no? Basta a lake and a building kasi medyo generic din yun.
Yeah. Especially like how big the lake is. You'll definitely see a lot of lake.
Oo nga. So, how's that? Na-late ka sa practice?
No. I just made sure
Okay.
I was bound to get lost. I
Okay.
left probably like 45 minutes earlier
Okay.
just to make it on time.
Oo, that first experience of getting lost, nalagpasan mo na
Yes,
yon.
Yes.
Okay, and then you mentioned that it's very easy to take public transportation. Do you enjoy riding the trains,
Yeah.
walking?
Probably a lot of people would say, I wouldn't mind to get lost in Japan. It's a beautiful place. It's very easy to go around, and people are very polite. They'll try their best to help you out. Riding the train, you'll see a lot of good sights, and a lot of good places to eat in, things like that would really make everything worth it.
Speaking of riding the train, I'm not sure if it was your post or maybe 30's post that I saw na parang the team was in the train station or something. Tapos syempre ang tatangkad ninyong lahat.
Yeah.
Hindi ba nakikilala na rin kayo when you're out there, in the mall or walking on the street?
Well, I think basketball is a growing sport over here, and some of our players, especially our local players, they have their own fan base, are very popular over here. And us imports, we're very much, new to them, literally foreign to everybody because, they don't really see us very often over here. But most of our guys, they're really well known over here, especially in our hometown.
Do you get a lot of Filipinos already watching your games now?
Yes.
Live in the venue?
Yes. It's very flattering that a lot of people, especially Filipinos, come over to watch us, especially whenever we have games in Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, where there are like a very, very big number of Filipinos. So that's awesome for us to see. As Filipinos, we always say we feel like we never play away from home because of how many Filipinos there are all over the world. So they make us feel their presence and they really cheer for us. So we're very flattered and very honored for not just me, but my brother, all the other Filipinos here who keep on watching our games live.
There really is a growing number of players from the Philippines who are joining the B League, right? Let's see, some of the newcomers will be Greg Slaughter, right?
Greg, Matthew Wright, Justin Baltazar, Jay Washington, who just signed with Okinawa. A lot of guys. It's great. It's awesome to see.
So whenever you hear of a new Pinoy player joining you guys there sa B League, what's your reaction? And do you guys message each other ba? Ganon ba yun?
First, we're thankful for 30 because he was the one who actually opened the doors for everybody. We just show support, because we know whenever somebody signs in Japan, it's an opportunity for them to play and showcase their talents and obviously represent the country. And at the same time, as imports, we only have each other's backs. So we make sure that we take everybody counted for, knowing that we're far from family. This is the family that we all have here in Japan. So we try to be as close-knit as possible.
Oh, so that's nice. Meron rin kayong opportunities to get together somehow?
Yeah, sometimes when we visit one another to play against each other, or sometimes when we play close by, we make time to see one another. Grab something to eat or, just talk, have coffee.
So what can we expect from Shiga Lakes? I mean, what's the goal of of course, championship is always the goal, diba? But parang what can we expect from Shiga Lakes this season?
We started off the season by rebranding our team, the Shiga Lakes, and that's just how we are this year. A new team, a lot of new faces, familiar faces, but at the same time, a different goal, a new goal to win as much games as we can, play well in front of our home crowd, play consistently in a very, very high level of basketball, and hopefully make it to the playoffs because Shiga has never made it to the playoffs. So we're hoping to be part of history this coming season.
Wow, that's very exciting. Ang sarap din siguro na feeling to be part of a whole new team, 'di ba? Para kayo yung maging pioneers ng team.
Yes, and again, like what I've said, Ms. Pia, it's just always nice to be part of history, just making our mark in this league as an upcoming team. And yeah, I know it's a challenge for each and every one of us.
Your games will start kasi at the end of the month. Once your games start, once the season starts, does it mean you'll be traveling all around the country?
Yes, we're very fortunate of what we're doing. We get to travel a beautiful country like Japan, but it gets a little bit tiring, to be honest. Especially when you play back to backs, you go all over. A schedule is very, very taxing, so you just have to make sure you get ample time for rest, and you always got to be ready for the games, more than anything else.
Oo nga, kasi sasabihin ko sana, di ba, parang dito naman sa Pilipinas, hindi naman talaga tayo sanay dun sa home and away. Kasi parang lahat dito lang naman sa Manila,
Yes,
mostly.
sa Manila.
Unless it's an exhibition game. Paano yun? When you travel, meron kayong parang one rest day dun sa lugar kung saan kayo maglalaro?
Sometimes it really depends. It really depends on the schedule, because sometimes we would travel Friday morning, get around to the place around afternoon. We would have dinner, or we would skip practice and just rest, get our feet up, and then practice in the morning on Saturday, and then play at night. So things like that. It varies, to be honest. Like, there's no one specific schedule. It really depends on the schedule, whether we've been playing like 6 games in 9 days. So obviously practice schedule is gonna change. Yeah, things like that.
Grabe yung 6 games in 9 days.
Yeah, it happens.
Are the games televised?
Yes. Games are televised. I'm not sure where it's going to be televised back home, but the B-League has their own site to find out where they can watch the games. Especially this year, it's going to be very exciting.
We're very excited actually to see more of you and the other guys in the B-League. I'm curious, you mentioned that it's a growing sport, diba? Basketball is a growing sport in Japan. The number one sport in Japan is baseball, tama ba? Or not necessarily?
Yeah. I think so. I think baseball and soccer, they're both here for
Okay.
football. Definitely not basketball, but basketball is a growing sport, and a lot of people are investing on the sport.
I saw also like there are, a lot of pictures or posters or billboards of basketball players already from the B-League are in different places in Japan, right? Like mga subway station, ganyan.
Yes.
May mga team posters na rin or team billboards. What are some of the things in the Japanese culture that you have picked up and that, parang nai-imbibe mo na sa sarili mong buhay? Kahit the little things like Japanese fashion or...
I think that's 30's area when it comes to
yung
fashion.
fashion. Hindi ka ba magpapakulay ng buhok na parang pink
Wala.
or blue?
It stays the same all throughout. I think one funny thing that I was able to adapt is this one, like the bow.
Yung bagbaw. Okay.
Yeah, like when I went back home, every time I would walk by somebody, it's just automatic for me to just like bow. So that was one thing that I was able to, I think, get from their culture, and just being respectful. I think just being professional, because here in Japan, we stick to the schedule. People here are very precise when it comes to time. So I think that's also one thing that I learned, just being punctual, being there, being present there mentally and also physically, things like that.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. So, next time na magkita tayo in person, magbabaw din ako. Ohayo gozaimasu, Kiefer.
Yeah. Ganun na nga.
Oo, ganun na. Ohayo gozaimasu. Watashi no, kasi alam mo, may konti akong nalalaman na Japanese. Yes, watashi no Pia. O genki desu ka?
Genki desu ka?
Nax! Ay, naku, naalala ko yun. O genki desu ka? Okay, so, Kiefer, before we wrap things up, first of all, thank you for taking time out to be with us. I know you're very, very busy.
Thank you.
But we have like just a quick game to end things on a light note.
Sure.
I didn't know that you would be our guest today. I was really nervous because they said, nasa ibang bansa. And I was like, sino kaya? Okay. Our team prepared a quick game. Okay? It's called 24 Seconds with Kiefer. Dax.
Okay.
Ita-timer pala tayo. So you have to be able
Okay.
to answer in 24 seconds. All right? So I just say and then tell me the first person or thing that comes to mind. Okay. 24 seconds with Kiefer starts right now. Kiefer, who's your best or favorite Japanese teammate?
Tetsu.
Best Gilas teammate?
Carl Tamayo.
Best Ateneo teammate?
Von Pesumal.
Most memorable game in the career? In your entire career, ha?
UST dunk against Kareem Abdul.
Ay, wow, I remember that.
Yes.
Yung dunk na yun, mahahanap natin yan sa YouTube eh.
Yes. So it's gonna be there.
Yes,
Proud-
it's
proud
always gonna
moment.
be there. Nako, Kiefer, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Before we end, maybe you can maybe have a message for your fans. Where can they find you in your socials? If they want to catch your games in Japan, how can they do that?
Hi guys, thank you. First of all, Miss Pia, for having me here. It's great to see you again after a long time. And to all the fans of the Shiga Lakes, hopefully you can come and watch our games live here in Japan, or for all the Filipinos out there who can tune in with the B-League website, B-League live stream, that you can watch not just my games, but all the Filipinos who will be playing this year in the B-League. Hopefully you can support us and include us in your prayers. We just want to thank you guys for your unwavering support for the players here in Japan, and also for the national team. Hopefully you can continue to support Gilas, and that's it. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy, take care. We're just going to give it our best to represent our country and make you guys very, very proud.
Thank you so much, Kiefer. Alam namin it's very hard to be away from home, like you said. So we wish you all the best. We hope, you keep finding things and people to inspire you to do your best.
Thank you very much, Ate Pia. Kamusta na lang? Send my regards to the family.
I will. And my regards also to your whole family.
Thank you.
This phenomenal surprise was planned by the team of Justin Kenneth Carandang and Aubrey De Los Reyes, edited by Shirley Paghiligan, with the wonderful people of GMA News and Public Affairs Digital. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Till the next surprise!